Welcome back, listeners, to another episode of The Snake Pit. I'm your host, Son of Bat, and I'm joined again with Son of Phantom, and today we're going to be covering a shockumentary called The Killing of America, directed by Sheldon Rennan, written by Leonard Schrader and Chico Schrader, and produced by Michichiro Yamamoto, probably butchered that, narrated by Chuck Riley. And this is a movie about America's brutal history, not a political documentary, thankfully, just about violence and chaos. And Phantom, what did you think of this flick?
It was a very black and white look at the violence in America. And like you said, it didn't have a political affiliation. It was simply a statement of fact, and extremely brutal throughout, and very, there's a bunch of stuff that I had never seen. So it was a very cool movie. Pretty messed up. There's not really, it goes chronologically and covers a few different eras up to the 80s. And it's just really brutal. You know, the skyrocket of
gun violence, serial murder, sex murder, all that shit.
Yeah, the creation of the American psychopath.
And it was crazy too, like it pretty much a basic rundown, like you said. It goes through decades of murder and slaughter. It covers, basically starts with political assassinations like Robert Kennedy, John Kennedy, Reagan, like failed assassinations, unsuccessful ones, and then it bleeds its way into the late 60s, early 70s with serial killers, mass murderers, sex murders, a lot of hostage situations too, and like one-off, shootout murders. The first part actually really structures on gun violence and then branches out into cults and stuff like that. And then the film pretty much, like you said, it concludes in the 1980s with John Lennon, who was shot in 1981 when this was released. And funny enough, this movie is very bleak, very dark. And while we were watching the John Lennon segment, I was like, it'd be really of this movie if halfway through a peaceful scene some crazy shit were to go off, like cops on horseback coming with clubs and pepper spray, and nothing happened. It was a peaceful vigil and quiet, and then right as the movie ends, all you hear is 2 people were shot after this vigil. And I don't know, I just couldn't help but laugh. Maybe it's the dark sense of humor, but fuck, this was a dark movie.
John Lennon's vigil. 2 people die.
Can't even trust the hippies, folks. Holy fuck, man.
Oh man, what a dark ending to the movie. It was oh man.
You know what? Since there's not really a plot, that kind of just weaves through different events. What were some parts that really stuck out to you in this documentary? Even stuff that you hadn't seen or known about before, because there was a lot of different crimes covered in this shockumentary, if you'd call it that.
I'd seen a lot of the actual events, but I'd never seen the length of the videos and the actual footage of what happened after and during. You see the news and online scrubs a lot of that information, and this is a really, really gritty, really long cut. It's not like The Killing of America uncut is exactly what it is.
Yeah, and reading
what
about
it says it is, it's cool.
Yeah, and reading about this movie, I wouldn't blame any of you guys out there if you haven't actually seen this. Thankfully, Severin released this on DVD and Blu-ray. There was also a limited DVD in 2002, but I had never even seen or heard about that. I think I actually might have even seen this on fuckedupmovies.com, but basically, this was released in 81. Japanese financiers helped back it, but it was pulled pretty quickly, I think, in 1982 after a screening in the Public Theater in New York. Maybe due to the John Lennon footage, the Reagan footage. I even read that the film company paid about $20,000 to get the JFK footage. And I think I even brought up that the first thing to actually show the public that Zapruder film was, I believe, the JFK film by Oliver Stone. I could be wrong, but I think that was the first mainstream thing to do it. And that is insane that they paid. It's believable, but insane that they paid $20,000 to get that clip in there. Maybe that's what made it, get banned. There was a lot of stuff that could have got this in trouble. This is not your average documentary. It showed full-on death. And if that's something that triggers or bothers you, you are going to have a hard time watching that. But if you're someone who's, kind of tired of, the romanticized, very rounded and clean, put-together historical documentaries, a lot of the World War II ones, for example, have this very clean, cut-and-dry narrative about what happened, and it doesn't really just show you the total chaos and brutality. This pulled no punches. This had no sides to pick. It just put it under a microscope and said, here's what it is. This is the most violent place and the most mass-produced place of firearms. What do you, the viewer, think of that? And it was brutal. We had everything. There was like hate crime footage. There was serial killer crime and interviews that are rarely seen. It was just a whole lot to unpack.
Death scenes.
The Jim Jones shit, right? That was honestly probably the hardest stuff to watch.
It's pretty messed up, man.
Because you can hear the children screaming while like this lunatic is going.
Actual videos. Oh.
Just bodies as far as the eye can see. Fucking
all
insane.
Over this compound. Just like, it looks like a different type of ground. Like the ground looks weird and lumpy, and you just realize that's what 1,000 people on the ground looks like. You know, it's fucked up.
Yeah, man. Then there's the guy too, the really chill dude in the bucket hat, talking about how fucked up it is that the police are using magnums that aren't very accurate, and that's why so many people are getting blasted. And he's got all these points, and he's very chill. And then this fucking submachine gun just comes up. He's like, come in the room. No, you're coming in the room. And they're like, duh, Barry, you should go in the room. And he's got these guys at gunpoint because that's the only way he can get his point across. And this guy was like, I hate to use the term, but it was pretty fucking based. He's polite, cordial to everyone, didn't kill anybody. The lady asks, oh, you're such a nice guy. What are you going to do like about it? He's like, well, I'm going to find a place in the building where I can meet the police, and we're gonna shoot it out. And I was like, damn, bro, holy fuck. Like...
I think, and then the woman's like, I think you're a very nice guy. Why would you do that? And it's like, well, tonight I shot my girlfriend. And then he just like stared off into the distance for a while. It was like, what the hell?
You know what I'm thinking of? And some of the podcaster listener people's, well, maybe this is a Schultz epiphany. You know what that is, but I just took this in. This guy, he kind of pulled the Charles Whitman, who they mentioned earlier. He killed his mom and then his wife, and then killed a bunch of people. Only instead of killing a bunch of people, this guy killed his girlfriend. And it's almost like that was the push. Like there's a pattern with some of these spree killers where it's like they have to kill someone close to them to get it going. So there's no backing out of the plan. You know what I mean? And I just booked that now. Maybe it's because we're a few dubes in, but maybe it's a Schultz epiphany. Maybe I'm just an idiot, but I just took that in. That's crazy. They also talked about child killers. Like I don't mean people who kill children, but children who kill other people and kids. Like there was that weird dude, I can't remember his name, but he walked into a beauty salon with like 2 pistols, and like they were like, oh,
just made a bunch of people get on the ground, shot them just to make himself famous.
And then I think
that was his whole reason.
The woman said something like, oh, you better leave, there's going to be 40 students coming in. And he's like, well, I apologize, I don't have enough bullets for all of them. And they just started, and then I started blasting, pretty much is what went down. That was fucked. There's that chick who shot all the kids like out of her bedroom window because she hated Mondays. Fuck, man. Then there was also interviews with Ed Kemper.
Stone-faced that little girl was. She was creepy.
She did not give a fuck. And then my favorite part, and I think this just boils down to the guy being such a good speaker. And I mean, I don't condone what he even doesn't condone what he did, but he's just fascinating to hear talk, was Edmund Kemper. And I'm glad the segments with him were somewhat longer than, like, let's say the Bundy or the Manson ones, where like we actually got to hear him describe his mental state and perspective on what he did and why he did it. Because the guy is an admitted genius by statistical score. So to hear him not even rationalize, but speak in such a calculated manner without being emotionally drawn to what was going on was just, I think, amazing. Fucking really cool shit. They also covered John Wayne Gacy and, like I said, Charles Manson, Charles Whitman. A lot of cool things there. You know, you got anything else here? I mean, we're looking at some facts. You know, maybe we've got because I want to sell this on people. I think this is one of the best documentaries to come out in the past while. The fact that it took this long to come out, I think more people should see this. It's not like, and no disrespect, it's not like Faces of Death where they faked footage. Like, this is as real as it gets. And I appreciate when a documentary can do that, you know, without being exploitive. Because, you know, we talked about it in Cannibal Holocaust with Alan staging shit to make his documentary more sensational. This didn't feel like that. You know what I mean? This just felt like footage.
No, this is raw. This is raw footage from news channels.
Yeah. And I feel like at some point some of this stuff was on television in its unedited form. I can't speak to the accuracy of that, but maybe someone who in our audience who grew up in the 60s or 70s can verify, did this kind of shit, was this just normal on TV and they start cutting it out as decades went on? Because it didn't feel like they were trying to exploit anyone. They were just showing us like, yo, this place is supposed to be the most safe, best country in the world, but it's got like literal shootouts in the fucking streets like the Wild West.
3 of the largest countries on the earth have like 1 million guns, and then the U.S. has 100 million guns.
Basically, what they said was
crazy.
what, 2 guns for every household. Essentially, 60 million households. That's 2 guns per household. Fucking insane. It's also, it's been described as the land of 1 million murders. I think also one of the facts up here, I mean, maybe help me verify on this, but I think like a couple of the people, Sheldon Rainin and Lee Percy, the fucking editor, they got fucked up doing this.
Yeah, they were messed up for years after his work.
Maybe it's a generational thing. I don't want to talk down on their experience and their PTSD for the fact, but like, I feel like I could have made a documentary like that. I don't want to say I could have made this movie, but I feel like I could have spliced and edited together this without having a strain on my mind. And maybe it's a generational thing, because we grew up in the era of like Jackass was normal TV. That's torture, basically. Live Leak was a click away. You like
just seeing, like, we went through all those like busts all through like.
Well, even fucking Shane Gillis and comedians are making jokes about how you can literally watch the Afghanistan and the Iraq war on the internet, both sides, the whole fucking thing, pretty much, for hours. And that's what we grew up in, you know, like that was the kind of shit where, like, if for some reason, if you're bored on a Saturday and the Flash games weren't doing it, oh, let's just go see what's going on in Afghanistan. Oh my, holy fuck. Like, you know what I mean? So I don't want to disrespect the people who made this movie, because it was a different time, but I don't know, man. I feel like if I was tasked to edit it, I could fucking do it. Like, you know what I mean? Do you think, like...
I would be interested to do it. I wouldn't be put off by it. But, you know, it does have off-putting stuff in it. Oh, yeah. It's pretty messed up. But, you know, I liked the realism of it. I really enjoyed the way they didn't put their own political spin on it. That was really cool.
Yeah.
Like, what?
Oh, no, I was just going to say, it stayed totally in the middle in gray and still managed to be one of the most controversial things ever. So that just goes to show you don't have to pick a side to piss everybody off. You can just be telling it as it is as a normal person, and people still won't like to hear it. Like,
well, people like to skew facts for their own good all the time. If they can't do that, they get angry about it.
And I could see, you know, maybe some of the more devoted gun nut type people out there. And no diss on you. I like guns too. They're pretty cool. They're necessary to a degree with certain things, whether it be hunting or self-defense. And this isn't an NRA ad, but I'm just saying, I feel like some, dare I say, far-right types would probably not like this documentary. And I don't think they should be, you know, and maybe even far leftists wouldn't like seeing like some of the certain like racial violent acts going on. But like, I don't think that should be a factor going into this shit. I think you should try to go in with a neutral eye and maybe walk away with something you didn't know. Because as someone, like I said, who appreciates firearms, I thought that the number they gave out that was an average in that one country compared to the rest was fucking crazy. 100 million? And they wonder why they can't stop it. And then that's not counting the ones that are coming in from the other countries. Those are the ones that are bought and sold within the United States. And there's no wonder they can't stop the gun problem.
And the breakdown in the history of that was very well done.
Oh yeah, no, it was great. It was really great. The serial killer stuff was also very interesting. They showed some photos from the Manson murders that I had never seen before in any of the books I've read.
How all those like major political murders influenced an entire generation of people to just be like, oh yeah, well, if the government can just kill people on fucking TV, then why can't I?
Yeah, and then everyone was doing it. Everyone was doing it, and. It's probably gonna piss some people off. The one thing that didn't bother me in this movie, everything was borderline atrocious to a degree if you're a human being. But the one thing, I can never find myself getting bothered by it. I mean, maybe the Kent State thing, because no one deserves to get shot while they're not holding a gun. That's pretty pussy. But like, when those hippies were getting their asses kicked, like, I just don't feel bad for it. It's like, bro, you're going up in a cop's face, just being like, these people are already unstable. You know that, and you're going to get in their shit and start yelling when it's 100 to 1. Like, you deserve to get your shit kicked. Not to mention, like, what are you guys really doing to change the situation? Like, this documentary showed us, okay, from the 60s to the 80s up until when it took place, that America was getting worse. Like, speaking as Canadians and seeing from up here, and it's no better up here, shit's gotten even worse than then. So clearly that whole free love movement didn't do jack shit. So whenever I see these hippies crying about getting, like, you know, batoned or pepper sprayed, I'm like, well, you kind of were just in the way. You should have just went home, silent protest, or did it somewhere where you knew this wasn't going to go down. Like, I just can't feel for it. I just think of I think of the South Park episode. Like, I just think of a bunch of fucking burnouts just talking shit. And it's like, everything else was just like, oh, fuck, man, this is bad. This is really bad. But the hippies, I don't know, man. I was impartial. I didn't care. Fuck 'em. Like, oh, but like, no, there was some really unsavory shit. Like, I think the worst of it was the when they really delved into the Houston mass murders, the Candyman killings, and the John Wayne Gacy stuff. But like, yeah, they also had really weird segments, like almost like montages, where they had pictures of murders that weren't really described. It was like people hanging off bridges, or like bound and fucking, like, or I don't know, one guy got shot in the fucking head and a big chunk of his head was blasted off.
The amount of raw footage in there.
There was autopsy footage too. Like, again, this wasn't
some shocking stuff, some cool stuff.
Yeah, it was cool because it wasn't edited. Like, Faces of Death, I used to think was pretty wild, and I had balls, but then I realized at least half of the footage was faked, and that made me lose a lot of respect for at least the first movie. I don't know, I gotta recheck the others because I don't know how bad that is with 2 to 4, but like, I lost respect for shockumentaries to a certain degree, because for a long time I thought it was either just animal sacrifice footage or heavily edited fake murder footage. And I mean, I'm not trying to watch snuff films, but I want to see true unedited fact. I don't want to see someone cut a video clip and say, well, it happened like this, and skew a narrative into one way. Just show me what happened, the whole fucking thing. I don't care if it's a fucking 1 minute clip, or if it's a like that one with the 2 kids who shot the guy in the gas station, or if it's a long fucking stretch like an assassination or a riot, what built up to it. I want to see every detail, because cutting out a little bit, you're gonna miss something. Like, whether it's something like the fucking gun going up, or maybe there was 2 like shooters, like, you know, it's just, this was unedited, and I feel like the world is tough enough. Like, there's just it's a vocal minority of people that are pussies that can't handle it. I feel like most people are adult enough to handle this, and I feel like more documentaries should just go this route of being like right to the jugular, like, fucking, we don't give a fuck, this is what it is. That's what journalism's supposed to be, no? But yeah, really great film. I'm glad we watched it. I want to get more shockumentaries after this too. I'd even be down to marathon Faces of Death. Just fuck it, just give it a try. If you were to rank this, even though it's not a movie, it's a documentary, what would you give this on the 10-point scale?
Probably give this like a 8.5, 8.75. It's pretty good. I really liked it, you know. It was a strong movie. Would recommend to anyone that would want to educate themselves on some shit about the United States.
Yeah.
It has a lot to say. Good stuff.
Yeah. A lot of stuff to say without wearing out its welcome, basically. The runtime, perfect. It didn't feel like an overbearing thing. It didn't take a whole afternoon. I'd probably, I really enjoy this one. I think this is above Faces of Death. I'm going to give this a 9.5. Like I said on that rant I just went on, I feel like all documentaries should aspire to do something like this and just document. Just take it as it is, get every side of it, and just put it out there. And
let the audience get their own opinion from that.
Yeah, and like, I didn't feel like I was getting nagged at while I was watching it. Like, you, the viewer, are contributing to the problem, and it's like, dude, like, I want to educate myself and watch something interesting. I don't want to feel like I'm an asshole because this, that. Like, most documentaries now, I can't really get through, because it's either just like rapists getting exposed or just really politically biased, whether left or right, just bullshit propaganda. This was just, hey, you want to see a true crime documentary? There you go. And it was a solid one. Like, this was up there with some of the great books I've read, like The Man with the Candy and Helter Skelter and all that stuff. It was just great, and I highly recommend it. So 9.5. Again, a lot of real footage, so you are going to see people die. If that's not your thing, totally understandable, but I highly recommend you try to get outside your comfort bubble and check it out, because this is a documentary that shouldn't be missed. If you like this episode, or if you want to see more shockumentary content, comment down below. Don't forget to like and subscribe to get more videos like this in your feed. And hopefully later today we will drop the review for Atroz. So peace.
Peace.